I think it's really important to be true to yourself and not to be swayed by fashion, because at the end of the day, that's the most genuine expression you can offer. If you want to be plagiarising somebody else, whether it's in wine or in food or in fashion, then you've still got to live with yourself. So I think it's really important that you just be yourself and just do what you want to do.
Well, I mean, it's authenticity, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
Being yourself is the best thing in an art practice. Sometimes when you're younger, you're often pushing against your style, or you can be embarrassed by it, or it comes out in another way that isn't realistic. The more I find I let go and just accept that it's messy or accept that it's not going to fit on the page, it actually feels more authentically me.
If you're very passionate about a concept, even if it seems really far-fetched and strange and bizarre, create the work that you like. I think that leads to a more fulfilling career if you actually like what you're making. You're not just making it to please someone. And I think the best work comes from taking risks.
Even if it's hard, because it hasn't been always easy for me. I wanted to give up at times because it was so hard and people try to, push me down a bit. Yeah, to always stay positive. If you love your art, there's always a way, even if it takes time. Yeah, it's so rewarding to do something you love, to do it every day and, see the smile on people's faces.
Advice is a difficult one because everyone needs to really figure it out for themselves. You can examine the patterns that have worked in the past, but really you need to find a new space for yourself, and that's probably not where you think it's going to be. You need to have some sort of flexibility. And actually the thing that I try to remind people is that you should actually pay attention to not only the criticism but to your failures and adapt. That's what life does. It adapts and survives. And being an artist is no different to that. And I still feel like I'm still adapting it. I haven't really reached an endpoint. I still have to keep sort of going. But what I thought being an artist meant when I started is completely different to what I think it means now. That has to change.
I want to say that good things really can't be rushed. And that's a hard lesson learnt with sign writing, because the more you rush, the more mistakes you make. If I'm not completely prepared by the time I get up a ladder, the job's going to take 10 times longer. So it's this concept that good things really take time, and the more practice you give something, the better the end result is going to be.
I follow a very old predictable rule, which is that I always try and work with people who I think are a lot better than me. I try and work with people that intimidate me, because it makes you push yourself and you never kind of sit back and you never take your craft for granted. Like I'm in this incredibly lucky position where I get to make theatre for a living. So few people get that chance, and I kind of believe you've got no excuse but to throw every single thing you've got at it.
I sort of always have a similar answer to what's the secret or how do I get started, and it is just to do it. When I started, I just went, I want to design some stools. I'd meet up with friends and we're all in creative fields and we're all talking about what we want to do, but none of us had done it. And it's just kind of like, why hadn't we done it? And it's just because we hadn't done it. That was literally the answer. It's like, okay, so I just said, when I get back, I'm going to build this many stools, and that was the only thing that sort of got the ball rolling.
I would encourage young creators to drop that sort of romantic notion that art can be only created when you're in the mood, because especially if you want to take it far, if you want to make a career out of it, that's not how businesses work. It's like if somebody was running a cafe and they decided that they'd only trade when they felt like it. Obviously that cafe would crash and nobody would come and nobody would support you. What's important is to remember that if you're not always creating, who's going to follow what you're doing? My biggest piece of advice for young creators is to start thinking of it as a small business rather than here and there. I'll do what I feel like and see how it goes and wait for opportunities to come my way. That's not how it goes. You have to work really hard.